Breaking news. A new rogue object has been detected between 3I/ATLAS and Earth, and even Voyager's instruments picked it up. NASA is baffled. It shows no tail, no comet-like behavior, yet follows a precise trajectory right alongside 3I/ATLAS. Could this be a natural twin or something far more deliberate? A probe tracking our interstellar visitor. The timing is too perfect to ignore. Let's dive right in. Just days ago, astronomers believed they understood the strange visitor known as 3I/ATLAS, that silent interstellar traveler cutting through our solar system without a trace of a tail. But then, out of nowhere, a new object appeared. It wasn't just anywhere. It was sitting exactly between 3I/ATLAS and Earth. And the discovery didn't come from NASA, but from Gennady Borisov, the same person who spotted the historic interstellar Comet 2, I/Borisov, years ago. For those who follow space, this is like lightning striking twice in the same place. The odds are almost impossible. Yet it happened, and this time it feels like the story isn't finished. From the start, this new object looked wrong. It showed no visible tail, only a faint glowing haze, what astronomers call a coma. That's unusual, but what makes it strange is that 3I/ATLAS has the exact same behavior. No tail, no obvious dust trail. Nothing that matches how a comet should act, especially one flying this close to the sun. Even after enduring weeks of intense solar storms, 3I/ATLAS remains almost untouched. No signs of melting ice, no bursts of vapor. China's Tianwen-1 probe captured a few low-quality images from Mars orbit, but NASA has yet to release its high-resolution data. Officially, it's because of bureaucratic delays. Unofficially, many believe the data is too unusual to go public without deeper review. Still, what matters most isn't just what we can see, but how these objects are moving. For a brief moment in early November, astronomers noticed something extraordinary. When they plotted the orbits of Earth, 3I/ATLAS, and the new Borisov object, all three aligned in a near-perfect line. It wasn't just a visual coincidence. The math checked out. From our perspective, they formed a cosmic thread connecting the Sun, Earth, and these two mysterious bodies. What makes that alignment even more unsettling is its timing. The Sun has been unusually violent, hurling massive flares and geomagnetic storms directly toward Earth. We've had auroras at record low latitudes, power systems on alert, satellites glitching in orbit. And right at the center of all that activity are these two objects. It almost feels like nature, or something beyond nature, is syncing the pieces together. Because when patterns like this repeat across cosmic scales, it's hard not to ask if there's a purpose behind the chaos. Now let's talk about what makes this discovery so hard to explain. Its brightness. Under normal conditions, a comet brightens as it approaches the sun. Dust and gas heat up, creating that brilliant tail we all imagine. But C/2025 V1, Borisov defies that rule. It remains dim and steady with a brightness level around magnitude 13. Too low for an object so close. It reflects very little light, as if it's made of dense carbon-rich rock or even metal. Meanwhile, 3I/ATLAS has done the opposite, growing brighter than ever expected, shining nearly 2.5 times more than the models predicted. But even so, it hasn't developed a tail either. It's like watching a spotlight turn on in deep space without understanding what's powering it. So we're left with two questions that shouldn't coexist. Why is one object brighter than physics predicts and the other darker than logic allows, while both are traveling the same line toward Earth? And more importantly, Is that line coincidence or choreography? Some in the scientific community believe this is a natural coincidence. Perhaps Borisov's new object was once part of 3I/ATLAS, a fragment broken off during a violent solar encounter. That would explain the similar composition and synchronized path. But others, quietly, are asking a different question. What if these aren't just fragments? What if one of them is responding to the other? It sounds dramatic, even conspiratorial, but let's stay grounded. The reasoning comes from the data itself. When astronomers first catalogued Borisov's new find, it wasn't immediately recognized as a comet. It was first logged under a generic object ID, GB000810, meaning no one knew what it was. And by the time the orbit was confirmed, it had already slipped into the Earth-Atlas corridor, perfectly between us and that interstellar visitor. Its path wasn't chaotic. It was smooth, deliberate, entering from below the ecliptic plane, crossing directly in front of Earth's line of sight, and now slowly moving upward, almost as if following a trajectory. Not random drift, directed motion. Even NASA's orbital simulations show that these alignments, Earth, Borisov, and 3I/ATLAS, are not common. In fact, the probability of three unrelated bodies lining up like this within weeks is vanishingly small. This leads to the part that's hardest to ignore. Over the past year, several astronomers, including Harvard's Avi Loeb, have revived the discussion about non-gravitational acceleration in interstellar objects. Oumuamua, the first one ever detected, behaved exactly like this. Small shifts in trajectory, unexplained by any visible jets of gas or debris. And now 3I/ATLAS shows the same pattern. Small deviations, just enough to make people wonder if we're seeing the same kind of phenomenon again. Not necessarily proof of control, but a hint of something unnatural in its motion. NASA's updated orbital models, recalculated just days ago, found that Atlas's motion stabilized after perihelion, suggesting no major off-gassing at all. In other words, it didn't lose mass, didn't slow down, didn't drift the way normal comets do. It's behaving more like a solid object with consistent propulsion or density, not a ball of melting ice. Meanwhile, Borisov's new companion maintains nearly the same trajectory, faint but steady, as if mirroring Atlas from a calculated distance. That's why some researchers have started referring to it, informally, as the shadow. Still, science demands caution. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. No one here is saying this is alien. But the fact that we're even asking the question shows how much we still don't understand. Because when two objects from beyond our solar system behave unlike anything we've modeled, and one of them just happens to be positioned between Earth and the other, curiosity is not a luxury. It's a responsibility. This isn't just a mystery about comets. It's a reminder of how fragile our assumptions can be. Every telescope image, every data point, is a clue to something bigger, a story written across billions of miles of space, and sometimes that story speaks before we're ready to listen. What gives this discovery emotional weight isn't the mystery itself, it's the human reaction, the frustration among scientists waiting for NASA's data, the awe of amateur astronomers who saw that faint light moving across the constellation Virgo, realizing they were witnessing history, and the quiet disbelief that the same person who first found an interstellar visitor years ago has now found another, right in Earth's cosmic neighborhood. People are beginning to feel that maybe, just maybe, these events aren't isolated. Maybe the universe is trying to teach us something, through repetition. Two objects, one path, and a message that's still unfolding in real time, as C/2025 V1. Borisov approaches its perihelion on November 16th. All eyes are turning toward the sun. If it flares up, forms a tail, and behaves like a normal comet, fine. The story closes neatly. But if it stays silent, if it stays dark and controlled, then every assumption we've made about interstellar visitors will have to change. Because then we're not just observing the cosmos. The cosmos is observing us. So here's where it gets truly unsettling and, yet, strangely hopeful. In just a few days, C-2025 V1, Borisov will reach its closest point to the Sun, the moment that could expose what it really is. If it lights up and grows a tail, the mystery ends with science. But if it stays silent, we might be staring at the first coordinated movement between two interstellar visitors ever observed. Either way, this isn't just about astronomy anymore. It's about awareness. The more we learn, the more we realize how fragile our understanding still is. Maybe these objects aren't warning us. Maybe they're inviting us to look closer, think deeper, and finally act like a species ready to listen. If you found this breakdown valuable, hit like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Galactic Breaking News for the next update when new Voyager data drops. Turn on the bell, because the next transmission might just change everything. In 1977, NASA launched Voyager to explore the outer planets. But decades later, it hit something no one expected. A 50,000-degree wall of fire at the edge of the solar system. This wasn't a myth or a glitch. It was real data, showing where the sun's power collides with the galaxy itself. What exactly did Voyager encounter out there? And why did it leave NASA in shock? Let's dive right in. When NASA launched the twin Voyager spacecraft in 1977, no one imagined that these small, golden explorers would one day rewrite humanity's understanding of the solar system itself. For decades, they quietly traveled outward, far beyond Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, further than any machine had ever gone. And just when the world had almost forgotten them, the Voyagers sent back a message that stunned everyone at NASA. They had reached the edge, and what they found there was impossible. Voyager's instruments began detecting an abrupt rise in temperature, up to 50,000 Kelvin, in a region that was supposed to be cold, empty, and silent. It wasn't an illusion. It wasn't a glitch. Both Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 confirmed it. A mysterious wall of fire standing at the edge of the solar system, glowing not with light but with energy. For a moment it seemed like science had hit a paradox. How could a region so far from the sun, so empty that it contained fewer than one particle per cubic centimeter, be that hot? NASA's top physicists spent months rechecking the data, but the conclusion was unavoidable. Voyager had crossed into the heliopause, the invisible border where the sun's power collides with the galaxy itself. What Voyager found was not a solid wall, but a frontier, a chaotic sea of charged particles, magnetic turbulence, and heat unlike anything seen before. It was as if the solar system ended not with silence, but with a roar. Inside the heliosphere, the sun constantly blows out a wind of charged particles, racing through space at nearly 1,000,000 miles per hour.